My first guitar was out on a farm in Letchworth, Louisiana, and they would every Christmas, they would go get this guitar player. He could play the Lonnie Johnson and all that kind of stuff like that. And he finally gave that guy $2 for that guitar, and it had 2 strings on it. And I just played it till my fingers got sore, and I help people laugh now. And my mother was in her good health, and Dad, and every time I'd get in the house, they would say, "Get him out of here with that noise, man," because I sound like a bunch of bees, because I didn't know how to tune it or nothing, but I just loved what I was listening to. And they'd run me out of the house, and I would go sit on them. They got levees in Louisiana. And I would go out there and sit out there, and one day I was out there and I found John Lee Hooker's Boogie Chillin', and I clamped my finger on the fretboard. When I found it, I thought I'd never find it again. I played it for an hour, and then I went walking so I could find somebody and see what it sounded like. And everybody I found, one by one, "That's good, man. You gonna play that again?" I said, "I can't stop now, because if I stop, I don't know if I can find this again." So I played that for about 2.5 hours before I quit winging it, but I found it again. But I finally finished grade school and tried to go to high school in Baton Rouge, and a guy walked by, and he said, "Son, I bet if you had a real good guitar player, you would learn how to play the guitar." And I said, "I guess I would." I didn't know him. But in the South, everybody was like, make you speak. If they're walking by the street like this, say, "Good morning." If you don't say anything, they'll stop. I said, "Good morning." But what do you do next Saturday? I said, "I sit here every day and try to practice." He said, "Be sitting there next Saturday." And he came up, he said, "Come on, let's go." And I said, "Where?" He said, "I'm going to go buy you a guitar." And he took me downtown in Baton Rouge, and that's why that harmony came up, F-O harmony. You didn't have big clubs like this. They'd rent halls, and it was a hall. And I saw BB once, and they said, "Guitar Slim." So I said, "Well, I'm going to get there early, because the people be standing at the stage this close." So I said, "I want to get close." And the band must have played about 15 or 20 minutes, and they said, "Now, ladies and gentlemen, things I used to do, Guitar Slim." And I heard the guitar, and I didn't see nobody. And everybody started screaming, and I looked back. A heavyset guy had him with around his neck like you do a little baby walking through the park. And he was playing this guitar, and that guy brought him to the stage and dropped him. And I looked at him, I said, man, you wild. I said, if I ever learn how to play guitar, I want to play like B.B. King, but I want to act like him. Yes. That's from a guy in a club at 43rd and Drexel in Chicago, and they took a break. And I wasn't drinking or doing nothing. I was eating a banana. And he told me, "So you sent your valet in to get your guitar," because I had it sitting on the stage like this. And I think he had something to do with it. And I never saw that no more again. And then I found a guy, he gave me some kind of guitar, had been burnt or something like that. And a lady on the club named Teresa, she had a club called Teresa's Lounge, and they had heard out. They was calling me the Wild Man, and I was jumping off the stage just like that playing, and she loaned me the money to buy the first Strat. But man, that guitar, you could hit a note on that guitar and hold it till next week, but you could hold it and do this like B.B. King vibrate his hand. And people look at you and say, "Is that you playing that?" Because it still look like it's holding the sound too long. I went to England in February of 1965, and that's when Eric, Jeff Beck, and Jimmy Page, after I got to know them, they said they slept in a car to see me play. And so I threw the guitar up and caught it back in the same key. Now, I don't remember that. That's them saying that, because I was throwing it, but I don't remember catching it in the right key. Because even if you missed the key, if you threw it and caught it, that was good enough, because wasn't nobody doing that. Back in those days with that Wild, I got a little of it from Guitar Slim, and I think T-Bone Walker had it. He would play his guitar like a table in front of him. Well, all the British guys had the Gibson and guitars like that, but they thought the Fender was made for back then it was called the country and western in Nashville, Texas type of music. They was calling it country and western. And they said they didn't know a Strat could do that because Eric and them laugh now every time I get with them. So, man, we didn't know a Strat could play the blues. Say, we saw you do it. But I saw Guitar Slim. That's what made me get it. See, it wasn't too many solid bodies, but the one I had was solid body, but I was afraid to drop the Gibson. But when I saw Guitar Slim with all them scratches on it, I said, he done dropped that and done thrown it and everything. He's still playing. I said, I'm going to be a Strat man the rest of my life. That's what they say about Robert Johnson on Down on the Crossroads, sold his soul to the devil. Guitar Slim sold that Strat to me, man, and I just stuck with it and still playing it. I think I played Eric's Strat on Damn Right I Got the Blues. I think that's what it was. I'm not sure, but I do believe I was playing his guitar then because, you know, he gets all those different effects almost like Hendrix, but I never got into all those effects that they use. And I was listening to something on him the other day, and he was getting a tone. I'm like, wow, I got to talk to him about that because him and Hendrix and them, they know how to go find all them different tones they get out the guitar. But I stuck with just my amp and the guitar. Sometimes I use a wah-wah pedal that lets you know there was a guy named Earl Hooker long before Hendrix playing the wah-wah. And if you could check that out, he got a record out called the Wah-Wah Blues. And he was playing that before anybody ever heard of Hendrix. And he could play the slide. And you talking about it, because I had a slide once I wanted to play like Muddy. When I got here, I didn't know nothing about him. And somebody said, man, you got to go see Earl Hooker. And I went to hear him, and coming in the door of the small blues club, Ray Charles had this big record out called What I Say. And I heard the melody being played, What I Say, but I thought that was somebody singing it. That was him playing that with this slide. And then he took this slide and went all the way back down to almost just the bridge at the bottom. And it was like screaming, and you just could hear something that screamed, and it was still saying, tell me what I say. I took my slide off and gave it to him. At the first Newport Jazz Festival. And when they brought me in junior, they had what you call workshops in the afternoon. Gil was there, and that's my first endorsement for a guitar. I still got one in my bedroom now, sitting up there red. And I got that amp. See, that was a bass one. And I had it strapped with the Sears Roebuck paper, and it had that sound that Leo left us with. They took this amp into their factory to try to reproduce what Leo had, and they kept it for 2 years, and they brought this amp back and say, don't ever get rid of that, because whatever Leo had in that transformer, he took it to the grave. But I had kept it so long, it was getting worn out, and I wasn't making enough money to get another one, and I just went and got some contact paper, and people were looking at that and said, man, where did you get that one from? Because the first time Eric would hear me, I don't know if it's still like that or not, because we couldn't afford a good drink, because we'd have wine. So the policeman would come in, and you'd have that bottle of wine in the back of the amp. Say, don't go back there and fool with it now. The police gonna come take it and pour it out, because you wasn't supposed to bring your bottle in the club. The knobs on it, the volume, and all that, well, we had waste wine and whiskey on it, they was frozen. That damn thing got nothing but on and off. I can't set different tones on it. It had the same tone, okay, wow. You know, when I left Baton Rouge, September the 25th, 1957, my mother had a stroke, and she was like crazy about all the children. I said, my God, I want to go to Chicago, but that's going to probably kill her. So I said, let me see, can I say something to make her happy and feel kind of comfortable for me leaving? I said, I got a good job, which I was lying. In Chicago, I said, I'm going in, I'm going to make a lot of money, I'm going to send you a lot of money back. And she smiled. And I said, I'm going to drive back down here in a polka dot Cadillac. She smiled again, and I knew I was lying. And I ain't never worn no polka dot Cadillac. I didn't get a chance to tell her that I had lied, but I remembered I promised her the polka dot Cadillac. So I said, I want a polka dot guitar just because I had lied to her about the Cadillac. And at first I went to Fender and said, no way we could do that. Ain't no way we can put polka dots on the guitar. And finally a guy come up and said, oh yeah, I can do it. About 12, 15 years later. And he come up with the polka dot, and they had the NAMM show, and I think it was in Nashville. And they called me up and said, man, we done sold more polka dots than any guitar here. And they still sell. Man, sometime I have to go up there and sign 50 and 69. We have to mail them out. You want me to really answer that like maybe I should?
Please.
It was accidental. Yeah, I just told him, plug me up. Let me see what that speaker sound like. And I heard that, I said, let it roll. And we didn't plan that or nothing. We just did it. Because back then, we didn't rehearse no album. They didn't want us to rehearse. They wanted us to come in, even chess. When they got rid of Session for Muddy, Sonny Boy, Wolf, for one of them, they would say, get here at 4 o'clock in the morning, just as they had finished playing the club. And he wanted them to play half drunk all the time, because I want you to capture just what you just left at that club, because you had them standing, and don't look like you can get them to do that unless you half drunk. And when you got there, they had this big bottle of whiskey sitting on top of the keyboard player for you to start drinking, and then you would go ahead and play that stuff like that. So Muddy made a comment once after he had left Europe. Leonard Chess and the record company ripping y'all off, and Muddy made a comment that he might have been ripping me off, but it gave me a name for myself. But I can't eat that. See, I couldn't eat that name. You know, Willie Dixon got credit for a lot of stuff that I don't want to mention, but a lot of songs he wrote, man, including a couple for me. I don't want to get too deep in it, but I think a lot of those songs that he got credit for, it wasn't him. Because I know I used to go in there, and Leonard Chess would say, that sounds like a good song, let Willie Dixon hear it. And if you had a song say, oh, baby, I had fun last night. And he would look at you and say, that's a good punchline, but don't say last night, say I had fun tonight. The next day, that was his song. It was a big rip-off back then. But I was smart enough to sit back and don't say nothing. Man, I don't know if I can curse on your interview or not, but Leonard Chess and all the rest of them, man, when you walked in there, good morning, motherfucker, and it sounded like, you know, I'm ready to fight if you called me that, you know, but it was, what'd you say? They were just laughing. It wasn't no big thing, you know, Leonard, Phil, Willie Dixon. Hey, motherfucker, I'm sitting over in the corner, Muddy got me playing, or the Wolf got me playing, I'm in the corner like that. Cut. Now he in the engineer room now, looking through this glass. Hey, motherfucker, turn your guitar up a little louder. So I don't know they're talking to me. So I'm not looking up. I'm just sitting there, and all of a sudden the door opened while they got me locked in. They come put me on. Hey, motherfucker, I'm talking to you. I said, oh, okay. 3 weeks later, when they say, hey, motherfucker, I say, what? I started answering. I might still play the festivals, but you know, I'll be 87 years old, July of this year. And I watched BB, which was 89 years old when he passed away. I watched a lot of other people lived a little longer than me. I begin to feel it more now. You can't do now what you did when you was 30 years old. I probably still will do my little hang here. And the Jazz Festival in New Orleans, the guy promised me 5 years ago, he said, I want you to play this the rest of your life. I might just keep that. And the big festival, I might just go play them. And I might just go do that to say I still have fun, because I love music. I've dedicated my life to music, but I don't want to come in some of these theaters and something, and they look at me and say, oh, he was okay, but he ain't got it no more. You know, like, I don't know if you saw Mike Tyson when they started whooping his ass, he said, I don't have it no more. And it's time to step out the way of that, man, because you got some young people coming up now, they'll be able to carry on with it.